Hello and welcome to Now That You're Married. My name is Liz Awoli. Today's episode is very interesting. We're talking about career and marriage. Do the two marry well? Are you able to have a career and a blossoming marriage at the same time? I have three very interesting guests with me. First is Mr. Osakioduwa. He is a Nigerian radio television presenter. Yep. You've been married for 7 years with 2 kids.
Yes.
Yeah, you had to remember that one.
Had to do the math on that marriage for a quick one.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Our second guest is Merci Egwu. She's a fashion designer. You've been married for 3 years and you're blessed with a child. Thank you for being here. And our third but not least is Ayodeji Agboola. You are an internet entrepreneur and you've been married for 2 years and also have a child.
That's right.
Yeah, so everybody's working, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Today's topic is about careers and marriage. So I want to ask you, and I'm going to start with you, IK.
Okay.
What were your thoughts prior to getting married, when you were a singleton, about how you would kind of feed the family and what you expected from your wife as well?
Well, first of all, I picked a career before I picked a wife. So for me, it was kind of easy. I knew I wanted to be an entertainer. And at the time, it wasn't a very big business in Nigeria. So I knew if I was going to get married, it would be to someone who was willing to take a risk on me being middle class or not earning as much as I would like to. So that was my first thing, pick a career. When I did, I realized that it automatically decided some things for me. She had to be secure. She had to be willing, a giving person to be able to let me go off to do what I have to do in entertainment. She'd have to be willing to be prudent because, you know, when you're earning in entertainment, you've got to be careful how you spend because you earn big money now and then no money for a little while. You know, so she had to be prudent, wise with money, secure and confident. So those are kind of the things I thought about when I was picking a wife.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. So what were your beliefs about how you would actually have your career alongside the marriage?
Well, I didn't know how busy entertainment would keep me. So truthfully, I didn't have all the foresight to know how I would balance out the marriage with the career. But what I decided early on when I realized this thing's keeping me really busy is to involve my family in what I do pretty much. So I sometimes take them along with me when I work, you know, so she sits in the crowd, just watches.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Merci, I'm going to come to you.
Okay, can I say from a very young age, I've always known that I wanted to be there for my kids and then for my husband. I've always wanted to have time for them. So it was a major factor in picking what I wanted to do. I studied mathematics in school and most of my lecturers wanted me to further go do your PhD, you know, you're very good at what you do and all that. But it was never my kind of person in the sense that I'm a homebody or rather be there for my husband. I can't imagine not having time for my kids. I can't imagine not having time for my husband. So I've always known that I would run my own business. You know, I don't have to say, okay, I have to be at work by 8 a.m. I have to be at work at so
You're offered flexibility.
Yes, I have the option of flexibility and I can be there for my husband and my daughter without having, you know, to trade their time for my time.
Nice.
For work time.
Nice. And you, Ayodeji, I mean, I'll give an example here. You have people even before they get married that will say, you know, this is a singleton. I will not marry a career woman. Because I want, exactly as Merci has said, I want a woman that will be at home looking after the kids, you know, and looking after me. So none of that I'm going off to do, you know, this, that for work. What were your thoughts as a singleton?
Yeah, you're quite correct. You know, the way we have a family unit today, it's so difficult if, you know, there's nobody looking after the children. You know, we have so many different kind of vices in the community today, and it starts from there. You know, so for me as a singleton, I really have always been independent. So I always build websites and all of that. So I just like to be independent. So when I was going to pick a wife, she found me when I was broke. So she knew that, okay, yeah, this is where you are, but you know, she could see the potential. And so for me, if that was already there, then I knew I was home dry.
Okay.
So it just worked.
So what were your thoughts on her career, for instance? Since you
well,
just said she found you broke.
Yes.
Was she the earner?
She works. She has a 9-to-5 job. But even so, it's just a very, very nice intermarriage where sometimes, I could be broke and then she just steps in, but I'm so interested in that, keeping that family unit so tight and secure that, I wouldn't have me working and her working. It's not going to work, because I have an 8-month-old daughter now and I'm the nanny right now because she was on 9 months.
Okay. We're gonna come to it. So as a singleton, you knew that one person had to be home, but it didn't matter either or, male or female.
Exactly.
Okay, we're gonna take a short break. When we come back, we're still talking about marriage and careers. Welcome back to Now That You're Married. We're still here talking about careers and marriage and how both of them can kind of form a union and how we can balance it all out. I'm here with IK, Merci and Ayodeji. Guys, so before we went on the break, we were talking about what your perceptions were before marriage. Now we're back. I want to know the reality. So I'll start with you, Merci.
Okay.
What was the reality of marriage? So I'll give you a scenario. You have people thinking, where does my career fit into my marriage? You have women who do not, for the life of me, want to be dependent. They want their own money. They don't want to be housewives. So what's the reality for you being married and juggling your career?
The truth is, in our society of today, whether you like it or not, it's very important for both the husband and the wife to have a source of income, whether we like it or not. It's not like those days where you could have a housewife. I no longer believe in anybody being a housewife. You should find a way to earn an income, whichever way. So, okay, for me, it was a shocker because I never thought being married would make me so busy. I used to think I was busy before I got married, but being married, you have to take care of your husband and your child. I have just one right now, and I'm afraid of having another because of that. Because I'm like, if just one and my husband, because taking care of, the truth is, I take care of my husband.
He's your baby now.
I'm trying not to say that. I'm trying not to say that. I'm trying not to categorize him in the same vein as my daughter, but the truth is, it takes so much. And if you do not realize that you have to work at it, like it's something that you have to have at the back of your mind, that you have to plan, more or less like it, you should have a plan. Even if you don't have a written timetable or like a written out plan, you should have something in your head. Like, okay, Mondays, this is what I'm going to do. Tuesdays, this is what I'm going to do. You shouldn't just leave it to chance, and then at the end of the day, you're overwhelmed because you can't create a balance. There has to be a balance.
Okay, nice. Let me come to you, Ayodeji. You know, you have situations where a woman or a man, you know, as Merci said, you get overwhelmed. There's so many factors. Not to talk of Lagos traffic. You're stuck in traffic, and then you've got to get home and prepare. You said before we went on the break that you're the house husband at the moment. You know, so how are you balancing?
Well, thankfully, I don't get stuck in traffic because I work from home.
Okay.
You know, so like she said, there has to be a plan. If I didn't get to plan about, let's get someone who's going to take care of the child, I would be effectively useless. I won't be able to work because the child someone has to take care of the child. You know, so, but with that kind of plan, and you know that it's a teamwork thing, you know, so sometimes when she gets back from work and she's so tired, I can step in, maybe I do some dishes for her, you know. I mean, you just have to find a way to make it work, you know, because it's got to be teamwork.
So since you work from home, let me put it on the other side. So your wife, is she balancing her career with the marriage?
I think she's doing a pretty good job at it, because she knows that it's important that she's there for me and my little daughter. And she's always, in fact, sometimes I have to tell her, hey, we're fine. You keep pinging all the time. We're good. You know, I mean, we've been at it for a while now. So I know when she's going to wake up. I know when she's going to sleep. I know when she needs this, when she needs that. You know, so I think she's doing well. She's doing pretty good.
Okay, thank you. To you, IK, what's the reality of career? Because you're very busy now.
Yeah.
And you don't have the flexibility of working from home.
No, not all the time.
As both Merci and Ayodeji have. So How do you balance?
Well, for me, my reality now is pretty much the same as my perception of what it would have been earlier on now, but it didn't hit it. I mean, this is 7 years in. The first 3 years weren't the same, you know, so
How were the first 3 years?
It was challenging because my perception was, look, I'm not going to compete, all right, with a job or with a boss. I'm going to say it like it is. I'm old school. I believe families should have clear roles and definition, and I'm slightly different from you in that I believe as much as we have changed times, it's the man's job to provide. You know, it's his job to pay the rent, the house, the school fees, to pay it all. I personally believe if you have to join two salaries together to meet the needs, then you're living above your means. You know, so my view before marriage was that she's not going to be a busy, hectic 9-to-5 type of worker. And if she is, somehow she just has to have the time for kids and for family, because I'm busy and I have to pay these bills. These bills have to be paid. So that was my view. Then I got married. The reality was I married a woman who is very industrious, and she's hardworking, and she's intelligent, and she's vibrant. And she was like, wait, so what? I don't work? What's the plan here? She's like, no, man, I'm working, forget that, you know. Like, and so she went on to do a number of jobs, worked in a number of companies, and then I had to teach the reality I wanted. I had to explain why. It wasn't just me being some nasty, bossy husband. It's the picture of the marriage that I'm trying to create. Mm-hmm. And after a while, she understood it, because I don't have, at the earlier stage of a marriage, I just didn't have a drawn-out calendar time for holidays. I'm a young hustling guy, so I found time when I had time. So if I decided in the middle of January, let's up and travel, she's like, I'm not due for leave for another 6 months. I'm like, I can't travel in 6 months, I've got work. Mm-hmm. You know, so it started to set into both of us that we both can't work as hard as each other outside for money, you know, because then we'd never have time for each other. We wouldn't have time for the kids. Mm-hmm. And that became an issue for us, and we both wanted to have time for each other. We both wanted to have time for the kids. And I think in marriage, everybody brings something different to the table. One person may bring the money, and that could be the guy or the girl. The other person has to bring something else, you know, bring something, offer something. And for me, what I needed from her wasn't money. I didn't need her to bring money to the table. I needed her to bring nurture and character. We both have time for the kids. I'm very, very hands-on with the kids. Maybe a little less so with my daughter now than I was with my son, but very hands-on. I'm involved. I do school runs as well, drive them to school, pick them up. I find time to make sure that I'm there, present for my kids. I'm not an absent dad, even though I work hard.
Nice, thank you. Guys, can I just ask about your first child, since everyone's got children here?
Oh, yeah.
I think you gave us a little bit. Now, how did that balance with careers? Because I knew after a while, as you said, Merci, you're able to get into a routine and you plan. But that first child always hits you unexpectedly, doesn't it? You know, so with that, how did you balance career? And is it possible for someone to have a baby, go back to work within 3 months? You know, is it possible?
Well,
would you advise it?
I salute the women who are doing it. It's actually a lot of work having a child, and I think it puts a very huge amount of pressure on a woman to give birth. And I mean, your body has changed, your mind has changed, you're exhausted half of the time. The child for the first 3 months isn't sleeping straight 6 hours. They're sleeping an hour at a time, and they're crying through the night, and they need feeding. It's a tasking experience for parents, but particularly for the woman, because she has what the baby needs, you know. And so I think it's tough to go back to work after 3 months. It can be done, but it's really, really, really tough. So for me, it was like I was lucky. My wife had decided to start working for herself before then. Okay. So she had the time for my son. I literally was not present in his life for the first 3 months. I was away. The day he came home from the hospital, I flew off to South Africa. I didn't come back for another 3 months.
Wow.
So
she couldn't have been working.
She couldn't have been working. It wouldn't have worked out, you know. So it was a challenging experience for her. I don't think she could have survived it if she was working. Okay. And I think even though people do it, it is tough to do.
Okay. Ayodeji, your wife works.
Yeah.
Maternity leave, I mean, how did that pan out?
Well, I think we took it very differently. Of course, they gave her 3 months maternity leave, and when it was getting to the end of the 3 months, she looked at me and said she can't go back to work. I said, I agree. I mean, 3 months is just not enough, because this is still a very tiny little child, you know. So she called them up at work and said, I can't come into work now, you know, and she wanted an extension. So they gave her an additional 6 months.
6 months?
Yeah,
wow.
an additional 6 months.
I know.
They were like, okay, it's not going to be with pay. I said, yes, fine, no problem, because you're the mother. No one else can do what you're going to do with this child, you know, because it's so important. And I said, fine, if it's not with pay, fine, but because this child has to be taken care of, you know. And she was a little squeamish and all that. I said, no, survive, you know. So she just got back to work like 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
you know. But now I can actually take care of
The baby.
because she's old enough to be on her own, because I mean, she's grown and she's walking around and all of that, you know. So I think that 3 months maternity leave it's not okay. I mean, the women should tell us more about it. Because
Okay,
Your thoughts,
I know quite a number of women who have done it. In fact, some who had to go back to work before 3 months, in the sense that probably they had some complications towards the end of the pregnancy, and then they had to take time off work before they gave birth, like maybe a month or so. And then you have, in fact, I know of one who had to go back to work when her daughter was just 6 weeks old. And it was crazy because her husband worked and she also worked. She was on the island, stays on the mainland. So as early as 5 a.m., her baby is strapped to the car seat and she's driving to the island in traffic, getting back home like
6-week
10 p.m.
baby.
Yes, a 6-week-old baby. She ended up having to put the baby in a crèche close to the office, and then when she resumed, she just drops the child. After a while, she had to resign and then go back to being a housewife. So it boils down to the same thing of, I think singles should know that, should start thinking about marriage, like what they want to do, and they should stop focusing on looking for a husband. That's not the be-all and end-all. They should think about, yes, they should have a plan.
I really like that, and I do think that planning is the key. You have women, you've heard of situations of women actually having to quit, which you just gave us a scenario of. And when we come back, we'll be talking about, you know, the precautions people can take. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Now That You're Married. Now we're talking about marriages and careers. Guys, so before the break, I was saying we're going to come back and we're going to talk about challenges, possible challenges faced in a marriage and having to establish a career alongside, balancing both. You have situations where men are transferred. You know, I know definitely it's more common these days than ever where someone is transferred to another state entirely. Yet they need the money because, of course, we all need money, and they also need to have a functioning marriage. You know, how does one deal with those possible challenges? I can start with you.
If I could qualify that, in my opinion, my wife should be home. Yeah, some other guy's wife could be out doing, because I have relatives and who are very successful bankers and oil and gas ladies. So I understand that that could be a career that a woman is gifted to be in, called to be in possibly. Excuse me, but for me, I've always known what kind of person I am. And so anybody I was going to be married to would have to be a wife that would work from home and have the time and flexibility to be available to my family in our peculiar way. You know, so it's not that I think all women should be home, but I would say I think it's more the norm than it is the exception, in my opinion. You know, so dealing with it, I think going into a marriage, you've got to know, first of all, who you're hooking up with. You know, if you're a career woman and you believe you're supposed to be a career woman, you've got to take a very strong look, and luckily you have the privilege to choose whoever you want, you know, so you can have 1,000,001 guys on your case, you get to choose, you know, so take a good, strong look at the guy, and if he seems to be an IK type of person, then you might want to kick his butt to the curb, you know, you might want to say, no, I'm I'm not going to marry you, not because you're not a good individual, but because you and I are not suited for each other. I'm going to be a career woman. That's why you've got to talk about where you want to go with your life, and what will help you feel fulfilled, I think marriage is about helping each other, to bring out the best in each other. And a career woman will not bring out the best in me. Or let me say a 9-to-5 woman wouldn't bring out the best in me, because there are other needs that I have. I don't need the money she would be supporting with, and I need her to be more flexible. So take a look at the person that you're getting with, and then decide, how will this affect my career? How will my destiny play out with this guy's destiny?
Nice. But coming back to you now, you mentioned earlier that you have 3 months projects away from home.
Yeah.
And you did say you try and balance out, bring the kids, but what would be the limit? Because of course you can't be taking the children out of school for 6 months.
Yeah.
So your career is important. You're the main breadwinner.
Yeah.
Actually, your wife is a breadwinner. You made that clear as well. But you're a breadwinner. You're the man. However, where do we have a balance? The career and it's family time.
My plan was always, look, family over everything. Even though I'm the sole breadwinner, family over everything. So for instance, the first few years that I hosted Big Brother, they would take me away for 3 months, and I'm gone 3 months straight. Then we started making a compromise of bringing the family out once a month, so 3 months I'm gone, I bring them out first month, send them back, bring them out second month, send them back, bring them out the third month. And that's cool, but like you said, there's school. And then I realized Big Brother's timetable changed, it shifted, and it fell at one point bang in the school year, the school calendar. And I couldn't pull out my kids from school just to come hang with me. So from that year, I decided if I'm going to do Big Brother again, then I have to come home. I can't be away for 3 months. So I started coming home every week. I'll be gone. I host Big Brother for a space of 3 months, but I fly out every week for those 3 months.
3 months.
So I take the strain off the family, take the strain off my kids' education, and put the travel drama on me. But then for me, family over everything, so family is worth it. So when I host Big Brother or anything that takes me away, if it's going to strain the relationship with family, then I won't do it. Family over everything.
I like it. So being able to balance career and marriage quite well. 7 years going strong.
Yeah.
Nice. Merci, how about you? We're talking about possible challenges in marriage.
Okay.
So you have situations where the man is away for...
Oh, actually, my husband got transferred. He's no longer in Lagos. But it worked out pretty well. We were to move together to worry, but we had to sit down and think about it. I'm the kind of person that I love what I do. I don't do it particularly for the money. I totally agree with Ike in the sense that I'm really old-fashioned when it comes to the family setting. I believe my husband should take care of me, take care of the house. No matter how much money I earn, it's my money. Your money is our money, but my money is my money.
That's what my wife says
So
to me.
I love the fact that I can just up and do things like, oh, I feel like buying something today. I don't have to call my husband. I need money for so and so thing.
So you want to be independent as well?
I want to be independent. So it was a factor when it came to us having to move out of Lagos. I have a I could say a strong clientele in Lagos already. Having to move it will mean starting afresh, starting all over again. So when the transfer actually came, we were expecting it. It didn't come as a surprise. We were expecting it, but when it came, we had to have a rethink, and then we decided I couldn't move. We couldn't move. My daughter and I, we had to stay in Lagos while he went. But it played out really well.
You couldn't move. You couldn't move because you had things that
things that I was passionate about, and I didn't think I had the energy to start afresh. The fear of getting carried away. When I get there, I might just relax for a few months because in my head I'm trying to get into the system and build my clientele, but then I get lazy. It happens to a lot of women. Once they get married and they have a few months break, they get used to being the housewife and just sitting down at home watching TV. I didn't want to get to that point. I didn't want to get carried away and forget who I really am and what I'm passionate about doing. So I decided it was too much of a risk for us to up and move out of an environment where I was already used to, already knew the workings of things, where I could easily get materials and fabric for what I needed to do. So we decided that it would be better for me to stay while he goes. And then it played out really well. Now he does like 1 week there, 1 week here, or 2 weeks at a stretch there and 1 week here. Somehow we just had to create a balance, and it works. It doesn't work all the time because there are times when he has to be away for like 3 weeks, and it's been like, oh God, how will I manage? But Ike goes away for 3 months. I don't know how.
Well, he comes back every
Honestly,
week.
I don't, like, seriously.
Not anymore. 3 months is too long for me now.
That's too long. That's too long for me. That's too long. But if there could be a balance, things have changed. It's not like those days. A lot of things have changed. The bottom line is there has to be a balance.
Yes.
So
for there to be sanity.
what if you'd had to move? You had to move.
It would have been
So
really,
Worry is still in Nigeria. What
Yes.
if it was a
if I had to move, or if I have,
Another
if I
country.
eventually, if it turns out that I have to move somewhere else, I would. And thank God I don't have a 9-to-5 job. I'm my boss. I can start. If I could start then, I can start now. I will.
Ayodeji?
Yeah.
So, your thoughts, what are the challenges that people could possibly face managing career and marriage?
Okay, well, I think it really starts when the kids come into the picture, you know, because when it's just you and him, I mean, you and her, you guys can do pretty much stuff together. But I think also that sometimes we always tie the job to being the only choice that we have, and sometimes that's not true, you know. But when the kids come into play, there has to be some sacrifices. If your career is going to get in the way, you really need to rethink that, because if you're not taking care of that child, then, and the child grows to become, say, for instance, a terror, you're tied to that, you're responsible for that. And if that child should go and, you know, paint the town red, you're also in a way responsible for that. So you shouldn't take, nobody should take it lightly, especially the women, you know, because it's so important, you know, that your career is not the only choice that you have. You could actually, you know,
You
find
need
something
money
else.
though. You need money.
Money, but they're saying that if you build a house instead of training your child, the child will destroy that house, and then you still won't have a child. In the sense that you're supposed to raise these children. That's why we are where we are
That's deep,
today.
bro.
That's where we are today because of.
It's nobody's job. It's
So then
your
it's
job.
a lose-lose. You're saying
Yeah, it's
there's
a
no
lose-lose.
win.
There's no win.
Exactly.
There's
Yeah.
no win.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you there because
Okay.
we're gonna take a quick break. It's been really, really great speaking with
Thank
you
you for having
guys.
us.
Talking, I've learned so much. From Ike, I learned that you've got to communicate. From Merci, I learned that you've got to plan. And from Ayodeji, I learned that you've got to compromise. So yeah, communicate, plan, compromise. It's been Now That You're Married. See you next time.